Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I am going to upload a very interesting and informative video lecture related to recommendation letters. And in my today's lecture, I would like to explain a very brief detail related to recommendation letters, why we need recommendation letter, what persons can provide us recommendation letter, what is the normal draft for recommendation letter, what are common mistakes that a student can commit while writing a draft. And in my today's lecture, I would like to address all the problems that a student can face during the process of getting a recommendation letter from their particular faculty members. So today's lecture and today's video lecture is very helpful for those students who have just completed their undergraduate degree, and also it is very helpful for those students who have just completed their master's degree and they're trying to apply for PhD level admission on international level, or is trying to get some tentative scholarship in international level. So today's lecture is equally important for all students who just completed their terminal degree and who are trying to apply on international level for master's degree or for PhD degree, because recommendation letter is one of the key document that a student must have while the process of application, online application for any kind of opportunity on the national level or as well as international level. And I would like to thank to one of my dear students, Ali Ahmed, who just requested me to make this video, because I believe that students who have just completed their undergraduate degree and students who have just completed their master's degree, they must know about the recommendation letter. They must know about the significance of recommendation letter. Although still there are a lot of students who think that recommendation letter is not so much important piece of paper for application process, but believe me, it is one of the key and important documentation that a student must have, and a student must be very careful while getting a recommendation letter from his or her faculty member. And in my today's lecture, I will explain a brief detail what are the basic or common mistakes that a student can commit while getting or writing a draft for recommendation letters, and what are the types of recommendation letters. And in the end of the lecture, I will try to conclude important remarks for today's video lecture. So first of all, I'm going to show a tentative formal draft for a recommendation letter, and this draft can be varied. This draft can be modifiable depending upon the choice of faculty member, depending upon the choice of student who is going to get recommendation letter, either from his teacher, either from supervisor, either from head of department, dean, and as well as from principal. So first of all, I am going to share my screen with all of you so that I can start about my today's video tutorial. Okay. Okay, dear students, you can see that I have just shared screen with all of you that, so I'm going to start step by step what are the basic parts of our recommendation letters, and what are the key and important parameters need to be there in recommendation letters. And first of all, whenever you are going to get recommendation letter, uh, a student must know about the type of the recommendation letter. There are two types of recommendation letters. First one is academic and second one is professional. And definitely on academic level, those teachers who taught some tentative courses to particular student in their academic session can write a recommendation letter for them. And similarly, if some person has completed his research work from under some tentative supervisor, he can also write a recommendation letter for him. And similarly, the head of department, similarly, the head of institute, dean as well can write a recommendation letter for a particular student. And I strongly recommend you to get recommendation letter from a good profile's faculty member. And for those faculty members who know about the student very well, who can explain its capabilities. Like if I'm going to work under some tentative supervisor, he definitely know about my capabilities, he definitely know about my nature, he definitely know about my research abilities, so he can write a good recommendation letter about me. And never try to get recommendation letter from those person who don't know about you. And now I'm going to address those persons who can recommend you, who can write a recommendation letter for you. Like in most of cases, I have seen that on international level, most of universities demand for recommendation letters, at least from professor, at least from associate professors, and at least from assistant professors. Now I would like to address the problem. Lot of students have seen that there are no assistant, associate, or professor level faculty member in their department. They definitely have some problem. They definitely have problem related to getting a recommendation letter. And in that case, what a student need to do? Like I'm going to explain a very common mistake in Pakistan, in my country, because a lot of students have seen that they don't have associate professor and professor in their faculty or in their institute. So I would like to explain that a lecturer designation person can never recommend you for higher studies, for international studies. So you must try to get acceptance letter, at least from professor. If you don't have professor in your institute, try to get from associate professor, at least. And if you don't have associate professor as well, try to get a recommendation letter from assistant professor. And the person who is below assistant professor, like lecturer, like senior lecturer, he can never write a recommendation letter, and normally the international universities will never accept their recommendation letter. So I strongly recommend you try to get a faculty member, try to find such faculty member. It can be your principal, it can be your a dean and chairman who has good research profile, and his designation is professor, associate professor, or assistant professor. Try to get recommendation letter from that person. So I just try to address the first initial problem that student can face while finding a tentative faculty member, for finding a tentative teacher who can provide you recommendation letter. So first thing, try to get a recommendation letter from good profile persons, like good designated person, like professor, associate, and assistant professor. Second thing is that that person must know about you. He can explain little bit about you, because when we try to apply on international level, definitely that organization sometime try to mail your recommended person and try to ask about your nature, try to get feedback. Never try to go to that person who actually don't know about you, who can never reply about international mails, who can never fill your online recommendation link portals and forum and other performers. So try to get some active person, try to get a good nature wise person who can provide you a positive response in the mail, in the query of any particular university. Like I have seen that some people and some students have seen a lot of problems when they try to get acceptance letter from a person and they try to apply to in international level on in any particular university, and then university try to get some remarks from that person who have just provided recommendation letter to student. That teacher and that faculty member never try to reply back or try to put some negative remarks against that particular student. It will definitely lead to a rejection. So it is very important while selecting a person, you need to find a person who is good in nature wise. You need to find a good person who is good in research domain, who can be positive while replying any tentative query related to you. So it is a little bit difficult, but I believe there are still very good faculty members who can write a good thing for you, who can reply on time to some international universities, and who can fill your online performer as well if you are if you are going to fill some online recommendation letters. Because we have seen that there are a lot of organizations who just try to accept recommendation letters on formal hard format, and some international universities also have changed their trends. They are trying to get online recommendation letter. In that case, a student need to fill information of that person who has just recommended him, and automatically that portal will send a link to your recommender, that to your person, that faculty member, and on that link he can write a good thing, a positive thing against you. And it almost takes 2 to 3 minutes, but I have seen that a lot of faculty members never try to reply about any international message or mail about the query related to recommendation letters, but still we can have some positive faculty member as well. So it was all about the things that I'm going to address, and I'm going to explain the problems related to students, and the significance of faculty member who is going to provide you recommendation letter. Now I'm coming towards the draft. And now I'm going to talk about the type of the recommendation letters. There are basically two kinds of recommendation letters, like academic, like professional. And definitely if we are student and we are going to apply on master's levels or PhD levels, we must try to get a recommendation letter from our supervisor, from HOD, from dean and principal as well, who know about us. And second type of the recommendation letter is basically professional. Professional recommendation letters can never be used for academic purpose, like applying for masters, for applying for PhD levels. So try to get acceptance letters, try to get recommendation letters from only faculty members, not from some professional persons who are working in any organization, because that is another stream, and that is helpful in getting some job, in getting some opportunity and internship level as well. But I strongly recommend you to try to get your recommendation letter from your academic session, academic staff, so it can be very valuable. So now I'm going to talk about the draft of the recommendation letter. Normally when a student try to reach his or her faculty member, there are two possibilities. First possibility is what a teacher can say, kindly write up a draft and come to me and I would sign your recommendation letter. First possibility. Second possibility is what some faculty members have their own letterhead. Some faculty members have their own draft, and they just try to put your information and then they can sign up and provide it to you. Both things can vary depending upon faculty member, depending upon the type of nature of the department. So I have seen that 99% cases, when a student try to approach any faculty member, he says that go and get some draft, I would like to sign, and I will recommend you. So that's why I'm making this video and I'm showing you a normal and formal draft, so that a student can write itself and he can get some signatures, some authentications and other kind of formal approval from his faculty member in order to get recommendation letter. So whenever you are going to write a draft for recommendation letter, it must have some basic parts. Like if I'm going to explain, if a student is currently just graduated from University of Agriculture, Faisalabad, definitely he must write up first what the name of the university. If he's graduated from sub-campus, you can write down the name of sub-campus. You can write down the name of the department, like computer science, agri sciences, food technology, biological, etc. And there must be a contact number of your sub-campus, your main campus, whatever you want to write, and whatever campus or main campus you are studying. And then there must be an official email ID of your campus, of your main campus as well. So in header in the header portion, we can write this information. And similarly, a student can vary its information depending upon its campus, depending upon its university name, depending upon its department name and contact email ID, etc. Next thing is what? Whenever we are going to write a draft, it must start from what? It must start from a date. And now I am going to address one of the key and important question that a student normally asks from me. What if we are graduated at least 5 years ago and we have a recommendation letter in that time? I have seen that a lot of international organizations prefer fresh recommendation letters, and they always prefer fresh recommendation letters, and they can make some trouble and problem if your recommendation letter is at least 4 and 5 years old and you have such an old recommendation letter. So it is not a negative thing if some person is graduated like last 4 and 5 years ago, and he is going to apply now to any particular opportunity. What he need to do, he try to get a fresh recommendation letter from same faculty member if they are available in their institute. But if those faculty members are not available in their institute, what he need to do, he need to find some faculty members and try to get updated recommendation letters. So your recommendation letter must not be too much old, and like it must be like 1 year and 2 years as well, it will be good. But if you have recommendation letters like 4 and 5 years ago, it is normally considered as an old recommendation letter. So some universities can have some negative impact about that. Now I am going towards each recommendation letter must have to whom it may concern. It is normally formal heading each recommendation letter must have. So I am going towards the body of the recommendation letter, and that is very important. And a common problem and mistake when a student and faculty member can commit, I would also address that. Whenever you are writing recommendation letter draft, it must have some tentative things and important things that need to be addressed. Like it must have, like in my case, I can write, I'm extremely glad to write about. Now next, what is name of the student? You need to write actual and authentic name as per documentation, as per your matriculation, intermediate or degree, or your CNIC name. I have seen that a lot of students what they try to write invalid name, improper name that is not according to their official documentation. So I strongly recommend you to try to write your complete name with respect to your CNIC, with your matriculation, intermediate or bachelor's student name that you have used in your official documentation. And next thing is what? There must be a name, father name, because it can be seen that two students have same name, but their father name, or if she is a female student, their mother name can be variable. So first line normally address the information related to the name of the student, the name of its father or guardian. Next thing is what? In second line, a student need to write what? Need to write the degree name. It must be BScs, it must be MCS, it must be BSIT, it must be like if you are applying for PhD level, it must be MS Food Sciences, MS Agri Sciences, it must be MPhil Botany, MPhil Zoology, whatever you can write. You can vary the title of the degree. It must be real title of your degree, like BScs, BSIT, BS Software Engineering, and BS Artificial Intelligence, whatever is basic actual name of your degree title over here. And then a student need to write a session. Obviously, if he has just completed its undergraduate level studies, it must have 4 years session. And a student need to write a session from fall 2017 to 2021. And definitely there are some universities who try to offer admission on spring level as well. So a person can modify its session information according to its admission criteria and the date. And next thing is what you need to write down your roll number and registration number. And it is very important. Like if I'm going to talk about the agriculture university students, they must write their AG number. Exact AG number, that is basically the official AG number, has been assigned by your concerned department, by your university or your examination branch session. And at the last, it must have your complete name of your university. Like whatever is your AG number, then you need to write down your University of Agriculture, Faisalabad, and then you can mention campus if you have graduated from campus like Burewala, like Nepalpur, Toba, whatever. And if you just graduated from main campus, you don't need to write down the name of sub-campus in your recommendation letter. And next part is basically a good remarks, a positive remarks from that person who is going to recommend you from any particular international scholarship or opportunity. Like I have just written, he or she is a brilliant student with excellent academic record. Her research skills had improved over the time. Being a team player, he or she believes in helping other colleagues. It can be some other good remarks, like I have seen that my student has very good potential related to research work. He was a very active member again among department. He participated in a lot of other curricular and extracurricular activities. Whatever your recommender person can write a positive thing about you, that can put a positive image when you are going to upload your recommendation letter. And definitely these lines can vary. But when we talk about the first session, first paragraph, normally each recommendation letter must have these lines, like name of student, father name, registration number, session, university, and campus. But in case of the second paragraph, it can be variable. And I would like to express most important thing, that when you are going to write up your draft, if you are putting your own words and your recommender is going to sign it, try to change the second paragraph lines. Never try to use a typical format. Like if you have two recommendation letters, if you are going to write two recommendation letter, your second portion, your skills, your abilities, and the positive thing about you must be variable. I have seen that if some person try to get a recommendation letter from two faculty member and their wording are same, a lot of universities and organizations can put negative remarks and can simply say you try to modify your acceptance letter. So I strongly recommend you try to vary your words, try to vary your sentences, try to have more variable things in second session of your recommendation letters. So it is very important. I have seen that a student is going to apply some international university and for particularly for any scholarship, when he just uploaded two recommendation letter, whole the statement, whole the body, and the whole the structure was same. And in that case, what a university can assume, they will consider your one recommendation letters and they will just simply reply back, you try to upload a modified recommendation letter. In order to avoid from that problem, we need to do what? We need to vary the statement in second portion of our recommendation letter. It is very important for all the students, for all the faculty members who are going to write up some positive remarks against you. And I would request you, try to change the lines. Never try to copy the same trend that all the students are basically trying to get the same pattern. Try to change and try to vary the lines related to you, and try to request to your faculty member, please write a good and positive more remarks against you, so your recommendation letter can be little bit modified. And next thing is what in the last session, the person who is going to write a recommendation letter for you can write simply, I strongly recommend him for admission in PhD level or master's level. If you need any information about him, I would be happy to provide it. It is the last line basically each recommendation letter must have. So in the end, in the bottom portion, there must be sincerely. And now what important thing, the name of professor. complete name of professor must be written in the recommendation letter. And it can be doctor, it can be engineer, like that. It must be full name. It must be full name. Like I'm going to talk about any particular name like ABC. It must have exact and proper name. Like it can be Harun Saab, it can be Rana Slim Saab, etc. like that. And then there can be a designation, a proper designation. What designation actually your faculty member have, who is going to provide you recommendation letter. Like if you got your recommendation letter from professor, it must have designation professor, associate professor, and assistant professor. I strongly recommend you not to try to get recommendation letter lower faculty member rank like lecturer. It would be very good if you try to get recommendation letter from at least 2 associate professor, from 2 assistant professor, and it will be too much good if your recommendation letters are from some professors level persons, highly ranked and highly designated persons. And there must be email ID. It is very important. The person who is going to write a recommendation letter for you, or who is going to recommend you, must have email ID and valid email ID. It can be official email ID, it can be personal email ID, because when you will upload this recommendation letters, that particular university, that particular organization will definitely in some cases will mail to your recommended person, and he can get some remarks against you. So it must have a valid email ID, either official email ID or personal email ID, so that your recommended person, your recommended professor, faculty member can reply back, a positive reply back against your application process, and can provide some good feedback. And in the last session, definitely it must have cell phone. And like I'm going to say that if some student is going to apply on national level, definitely it must also have cell number, that person who is going to provide you recommendation letter. But in case of international level, he can add some basic code, and definitely it will be very helpful. But in case of email ID, I have seen that normally most of the organization, international university, try to use their email ID and email address, and it must be valid in order to get feedback that either you have recommended the correct person, and you know about the recommended student and what are its skills. So these are basic tentative information from related to recommendation letters. And now I would like to address some important things that need to be taken while for getting a recommendation letter. And in the end, I would like to conclude my remarks. So whenever we are going to get recommendation letters, we try to focus some research oriented person. We need to focus some such faculty member who is positive and his nature is very positive, who can write good remarks against you, and who is very good in social activities like writing a mail, replying mail, and who is very fluent in writing online recommendation performers. And all the information just I have provided is very helpful for all the students who are going to get some opportunity on international level. And in the last, I would like to thank all of you. And if you have any question, you can just simply comment on my video. I would like to reply as soon as possible against your tentative questions. And once again, thank you for listening me and appreciating me. Take care, stay blessed. Allah Hafiz.